son's door 2 days earlier. This brutal killing took place while the family was gathered at home on a Sunday afternoon. Don't touch that dial now, we're just getting started.
PT, standing for Playable Teaser, came out as a demo back in 2014 for a new entry in the Silent Hill franchise. With a new approach to the style of their games, I think we can all agree that this shit is one of the, if not the most terrifying experience ever in gaming. Scratch that, in anything. The psychological terrors included are on a whole different level. It's easy to see the importance of the horror genre in video games because of how much it is included even in other types of games. However, with these kinds that are fully indulged with the horror element, it can scare the player in unique ways without the need of jump scares like these. Today, I just want to talk about horror games and their art of messing with your head. Also, I'm going to be spoiling some random parts of these games shown on the screen, so if you do care about it, this is your first and final warning. Or just stick around, I guess. One certain thing horror games are good at is making you delusional and hallucinatory. Following the events of Dead Space, the main character Isaac is left traumatized. At one point in the game, when diving deeper into the spaceship, we start noticing some weird shit going around this area. It turns out there's a baby stuck in the washing machine. Who put you in there, young man? Little baby? He's obviously very upset as the washing machine is shaking the hell out of itself. After walking away from the scene, the power suddenly cuts out by accessing the doors, and then getting jump scared by this weirdo. Later in the game, we find out a major plot twist. Isaac's been hallucinating the entire time, meaning that there was never a baby in the first place. It was all just in his head. Amnesia is quite a definition of a psychological terror. The game fucks with your head so much with the help of their implemented sanity meter system. The state of your brain and mental health is displayed by that little icon on the bottom left, deteriorating over time because of the scares included. A major mechanic in the game is the fear of darkness. You're given a lantern to keep yourself warm and cozy, but most importantly sane. However, the fucked up thing is that the lantern doesn't have much fuel to begin with. It also doesn't help that you have these peeping toms following you around all the time and actively searching for you. The sanity of the character drops the more you encounter them. I mean, yeah, getting away from them is possible by hiding within the dark corners of the environment, but as I mentioned before, this guy is afraid of the dark. Yeah, it is an option, but it still messes up your sanity regardless, to the point where you start to visually and audibly hallucinate. Gaining back your sanity is doable by sipping on that sanity potion, but if you're unlucky enough to miss a source of light, it gets pretty hard to find these things. Eternal Darkness for the GameCube does the exact same thing, but it also has a sanity meter that spirals up, making your character go fucking nuts sometimes. The game demonstrates it in various ways, as with the lower levels of insanity, making your smooth camera movements start tilting and shaking the screen up and down. The higher levels of insanity is where it starts to fuck with you.
You are in incredible danger.
And even starting up with hallucinations as unsettling as statue heads following you around. Your character is sinking into the ground like it's quicksand, to straight up even hallucinations that happen out of nowhere in some parts of the game. They're sending you back to the beginning of the sequence and dropping the overly annoying line of "this can't be happening."
This isn't really happening!
But the best thing Eternal Darkness is good at is breaking the fourth wall and interacting with the player in various cheeky ways. I think you know what's up next.
You're wasting your time!
When a game is aware enough that the player is interacting with it and it feels like it's trying to communicate via Twitch chat, some little teases, it can be creepy as shits.
You are creepy as shit.
As I was saying a few moments ago, Eternal Darkness interacts with you in the friendly fire on way, and it will try its best to sabotage you endlessly throughout your game time. Some other good ways it displays the higher levels of insanity while also trying to mess with you is when in combat it likes to randomly swap the controls to entirely different buttons on the GameCube con. The game shows a lot of technical issues such as blue screens of death and, funny enough, prompting up the message on your TV that the controller has been disconnected. It also supposedly mutes itself or turns the volume up and down on your TV just to annoy you. But my favorite fourth wall break is while trying to save the game, it gives you no reject button to this, and it fakes you out after that, congratulating you for doing so. Like, what the fuck? In the story mode of Dead Space 2, there is this character called Strauss, and I like to claim that he's mentally ill. After winning as Isaac, a lady and Mr. Strauss arrive at the spaceship. The unexpected thing is when Strauss starts talking his crazy stuff, he mentions that someone is looking at him, then shifting his focus directly to us and shouting out,
Stop staring at me! Stop it! Relax!
Isaac, we have to get out of here.
Right.
Of course, to the characters, this looks like some mental argument with some ghost in his head, but the over-the-shoulder camera angle makes it that much more personal between the game and the gamer. Talk about user experience. Silent Hill Shattered Memories has some low-key genius coding. It is made in a game that wherever you look at or say in the psyche test will influence your experience to the fullest. Dr. Kaufman will ask a bunch of personal questions about yourself to conduct a psyche evaluation. As it's rumored, these only influence about 20% of the stuff seen in the game. One of the things included are the monsters called Rorschachs. Depending on what you stared at the most, their appearance will alter drastically. This is what they look in the beginning, and this is one of the 4 possible looks they can end up looking as. Heavily staring at breasts and butts all the time will make the Rorschachs look more feminine as time goes on, by giving them heels and making these knockers possible. But if you look at alcohol and drugs all the time, the monsters will begin to look very diseased. But by being a little angel and only caring to find Cheryl, the Rorschachs will be the abstract version of themselves and genuinely just look the least scary of all of them. Being and looking at uncaring and rude stuff will turn them into the anthropified version. These are only the elephants in the room because the game will try to create environments based on your answers and drawings. Just felt like saying this fact too. Also, these choices can alter the game's overall ending and story. Man, this is some great game design. Most of the time, horror games come down to one distinctive thing: jump scares. We've all experienced thrillers like Outlast, Evil Within, Blair Witch, let me think of another one. Whatever. When playing a game like Outlast, we all think it's scary, for some time, because in the case of Outlast or games like such, they kinda make you numb to the pain of being spooked and jump scared all the time, because they happen so often, so that's why they keep them games short. Is the defying of expectations that completely catches you off guard and changes the way horror games scare you by being very unpredictable. The locker room example from Silent Hill back in 1599, whenever it came out, it starts with getting to the horrific building that is school. There, you can hear a heart pounding coming out of the locker. Yeah, it turns out some people actually got scared of a cat. But it seems like that little wussy is gonna get a jump scare of its own. But later, if you come back to the lockers, the same one where the cat jumped out from will be bloody. The slow opening makes the player feel like something is gonna happen. However, nothing. Yeah, then this happens too. Environments can be the game changer in a horror game. PT's map consists of only one hallway and a bathroom. Now we have to remember that this is a demo, but the map seeming so shallow plays it to its advantage, and the creators didn't hold back at all when creating it. The hallway keeps repeating itself constantly, appearing different every time you cross it, changing it in either minor or major ways. The ambience and the sound design complement it perfectly, as the radio can be very sinister and helpful at times, either spitting out these homicide stories.
The girl was found shot once in the chest from point-blank range.
Clues to puzzles like to not trust the sink in the bathroom,
You can't trust the tap water.
to the broadcast being changed during the demonic episodes of the hallway to sound like this. Also, not to forget the ghost lady Lisa, that is one of the most terrifying characters I've ever experienced in my entire existence of playing video games. And fun fact, throughout hacks, gamers found out that she's always following you and can project real-time shadows of herself, throwing them at you to mess with you thinking that it's actually her. In my opinion, PT is a living proof that size doesn't always matter. It's your consistency that is needed. I'm talking about the map.
Welcome to the family, son.
Basements in horror games suck. Basements in real life suck. They always have. Since the dawn of humankind, they have always been creepy because of it being the least lived in and most unfamiliar place in a household, and the basement in Resident Evil 7 lives just by that. By the time you get there, you had to go through so much shit confronting Jack Baker and his wife on the ground and second floor of the house. The atmosphere was set up perfectly. What once was a comforting home is now a living hell. But the basement is so much worse. By only seeing the stairs leading down to the basement with a single creepy light highlighting it, it hits you immediately that anything you've experienced is not at the level of gruesomeness of the basement. The place looks like a maze with some really claustrophobic vibes to it. The black gooey venom looking substance being all over the walls adds up to it, with the moles being able to spawn behind or in front of you, slowly creeping up trying to kill you. In the ground or second floor of the house, everything was quiet, for the better part, because you have Jack trying to kill you all the time, but you'd more hear your footsteps than Jack.
I'm an old man, son.
And in the basement, it's the same, but once you get to the engine room, everything changes. You thought you hated the quiet, but you'll find out you hate the very loud environment even more, because you can't even hear the molds moving around you. It doesn't stop there, because you'll find in the basement horrific things like this place, where the fates of some of the victims caught by the Baker family are shown. There being at least one mention of the R word that rhymes with grape. Yeah, truly insane. But the cherry on top of this, at the end of this whole adventure, you come across a very hard and claustrophobic confrontation with Jack. A one-on-one fight to the death. So that's why I think the basement in the Resident Evil 7 game is one of the scariest environments I've ever experienced in my life. By messing with your head, not being able to hear anything, or too much shit going on. And knowing what basements are, these stairs becoming very psychologically terrifying to descend to.